Hello, I'm Tony Jones. I'm a co-founder of Eastern Fostering Services, and I'm talking to you today about positive male role models. Now, it's certainly been the case traditionally that it's been women rather than men who've applied to become foster carers, and I guess this could have been around the task divide around gender, women as homemakers, men as breadwinners. But the strange thing is that it's still the case today. Even though roles and tasks are much more evenly divided and distributed, it's still mainly the women who instigate applications to become foster carers rather than the men. And this is particularly true when we're looking at single carers, where it's almost overwhelmingly women who apply in those instances, and hardly any men at all. Which kind of begs the question, what's that about really, and why are men so backward in coming forward? And I think there are probably two reasons for this. One is that I think men overestimate what we're looking for, in as much that I think they might suspect that we're requiring very strong men who can take the lead, who can manage other people's lives. And really, that's not the case. What we are after, and what really fits, is the idea of normal is good. So we want people with good parenting attributes, yes, who can adapt to challenge, who can adapt to change, but really the sort of attributes which you might consider to be quite normal, really. Ability to set boundaries for kids, ability to have high but realistic expectations for them, the ability to work as part of a team, especially if they're working alongside their partner, a sense of fun, so it's a good place to be for kids, and to be family orientated and like family activities. Now, we do have some special male carers, but none of them would describe themselves as supermen. In fact, were I to do so, I think they'd think I lost the plot. So the message here is that, yes, there are real positives that we're looking for, but to my mind, they're quite normal. Certainly they're the things that I find in my friends, my relatives, etc. And I suspect you do too. Now, the other thing I think that's going on is that men underestimate the importance of a positive male role model in children's lives. And this is because, and it's important because the kids we work with have had such limited exposure to men who have those parenting attributes I mentioned. But things like, which you again take for granted, people who are able to show respect, are honest, they're dependable, they're able to show love and affection. These are deficits in the lives that kids come to with us. And I suppose part of the positive role for men is to show how life can be led and show how life should be led. Now, I'd like to finish on a personal story. I'm going to change some of the details and you'll see why for anonymity. But my wife and I became foster carers some 35 years ago. And yes, my wife was the instigator, I've got to fess up. And, to some extent, initially, I could say I was like a lot of men, went along for the ride. It was always going to be relatively short term because my wife did plan to return to her career in social work. And in consequence, we mainly fostered and looked after kids on a short term or an emergency basis. As things turned out, and this wasn't planned, most of those were teenage girls. But there was one young man who came to us from a very disturbed background, with multiple problems, who wasn't with us for very long, but stayed in touch with me for some 20 years. And this would be occasional, I wouldn't hear anything from him for perhaps 3 years, and then he'd get in touch. And he would be ringing me to tell me some good news. It might be about a relationship, it might be about a job. He didn't want anything from me other than my approval. And it can't help but move you when that happens. You know, if you become a foster carer, you're not going to change the world, albeit other than by one person at a time. You may change a life for the better, but definitely, you will bring some comfort into somebody's life where that's been in short supply. And that comfort can have an enduring impact. So, thanks for listening, and if you'd like to make a difference, please get in touch.